My name is Jo Yoakum. I'm the executive director for Playworks. I oversee operations in Indiana and Kentucky and maybe some other states in the near future. Audrey is also on the call. She is our program director. So she oversees everything that has to do with the work that we do in partnerships with schools and youth serving organizations, manages our people, manages our school partnerships. She basically runs this place. So I'll give the presentation, and then if you have hard questions, I'll let her answer those. So Playworks, we are a national nonprofit organization that has been around for about 24 years. And we exist to answer a need of how to create positive learning environments for children, as well as think about how to help them develop critical social emotional skills in order for them to succeed where they are at, as well as later in life. So some of the issues that we are involved in and tied to are things like bullying that happens in schools that is often the result of lack of social emotional skill, other negative behaviors that then result in loss of quality instructional time. And so as you can imagine, if teachers, educators are spending their time breaking up fights or addressing behaviors, then they're not actually teaching, or they're not actually engaging kids in whatever it is that they are there to engage kids in. So for example, we also work with out of school time professionals. So boys and girls clubs, you know, we don't want them spending their time addressing behaviors. We want them spending their times providing enrichment activities and tutoring and all the other cool things that they provide to the kids. And then the other big issue, or another one of the big issues, is the amount or lack thereof of physical activity that kids are engaged in. And so Playworks was established, like I said, about 24 years ago, and our mission is to improve the health and well-being of children by increasing opportunities for safe, meaningful play. And when we talk about well-being, that is all-encompassing. We think of well-being as being physical, as being social, and emotional. And we believe, and we have proof, that play is a great tool to increase a child's well-being in all of those areas. And so our vision is that one day, every child in America will get to play in a safe and healthy way every single day. So you might say, Jo, doesn't every kid play? That's what kids do. And the answer to that question, unfortunately, is no. And some who are playing may not be doing it in the most productive way. So that's where Playworks comes in. So what we actually do is we provide both let me say what we did prior to a pandemic is we provided direct services and professional development training. Our direct services are focused on K-8 schools, again, across the country, but we focus our work in direct services in the central Indiana area, as well as in Lafayette, where we place either full-time or part-time play workers in schools, and they are facilitating recess. They're doing after-school programming. They're doing what we call class game time. They are teaching the older kids in the schools to be leaders on the playground and in their classrooms through what we call a junior coach program. So it's a really intensive intervention that we provide in the schools that we serve. And then we also provide a variety of professional development trainings, and these are given all over the state, and they range from 1 day of training to 5 days of really intensive on-site training and coaching in order to really hand over our strategies and techniques with the goal of self-sustainability, right? We don't, much like the previous presentation, we don't want these schools and organizations to have to lean on us forever. We want to work with them to gain the skills they need in order to move forward and create the best environment. So some of the impact that we know, this is, we are an evidence-based program, which means that there has been controlled studies done on Playworks And these are the results of the controlled studies that were done out of Stanford, Mathematica. And so we have seen statistical results in as it relates to bullying, as it relates to students feeling safer at school, kids being engaged in more vigorous activity and being ready to learn. There's a lot of studies around play, fostering more focus and engagement even in classroom activities, which we also see in our work. Some impact numbers for Indiana. This is from last school year, the 18-19 school year. We served over 34,000 kids, which included 223 junior coaches. Those are those young 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that we train to be leaders on the playground and in their schools, and trained over 1,300 educators across the state. Those numbers are fun, and I get really excited about that because we, at that time, were I think only a staff of 6 or 7 full-time staff. So it's a pretty intense amount of kids to serve. We do have AmeriCorps members that also serve with us, and so they're a part of that as well. But the thing that gets me the most excited is the data in the blue, and it's the way our educators feel about us. And so we ask all of our educators at the end of every year at the schools that we serve to tell us about their experience working with us and their experience implementing our programs and whether or not they think it's really making a difference. And 95% of them believe that we help create opportunities for inclusion of diverse groups of students. To me, that is huge, and really the whole reason while we're here. We want to grow social emotional skills. We want to create positive environments, but we want to do it for every single kid. 92% believing that we improve their overall school climate, right, through play, right? We didn't invent play. We just have figured out a way to harness it for positive outcomes. And then that last part is 14 hours of recovered academic time just from addressing transitions from recess to learning over the school year. And so it's really important to us that we allow kids to get the absolute most out of their recess time. Some kids only get 15, 20 minutes of recess. So we wanna make sure that they get the absolute most out of recess time and that they are absolutely ready to learn when they get back in the classroom. And so this is I get really excited about data. I'm kind of a data nerd, so these are some of the other outcomes from our educational surveys. You can see we had over 400 people respond. This was just, like I said, last school year. But we measure our results on the playground because that is where we do a lot of our work. So we want to make sure that we're seeing less disciplinary issues and less bullying. We want to see more cooperation, kids really resolving their own conflicts. We want to see kids being empowered to resolve their own challenges and then get back to play. But we also want to understand how this impacts the kids in the classroom. Because again, we are about the whole child and about their whole experience, and not just the experience they're having while they're playing, but how the experience while they're playing can impact their experience throughout the school day and hopefully after. So we're seeing kids that are more engaged in academics because of their work in Playworks, as well as spending less time resolving conflicts. So where we are now, I'm going to speed through this. I'm almost out of time, but our current situation, as most of you probably know, is that schools are closed. Nearly 30 million kids are out of school. So kids don't have access to play. Adults are being asked to work from home. They're not fully equipped with providing activities that engage kids in play and social emotional learning. And so we, and these are all the different things that we're hearing from teachers at the need that they currently have. How do they engage kids still? How do they keep them active? How do we manage stress? And so we quickly, when the schools shut down, pivoted and launched Playworks Play at Home. This is all stuff that you all can access if you're interested, but we have a playbook online. It's currently in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. It's getting ready to come out in Arabic and Russian and a few other languages. But it's a game guide. It's full of games that can be played at home with very few people, with little to no equipment. We have virtual recess that's every day of the week, 3 times a day on Facebook. And we have high quality videos that are done and available on our website to show kids and families how to play the different games. Because I figured this would be a question, I wanted to go ahead and show you what our funding model is. Often people, that's the first question they want to know from a nonprofit. more than half of our funding comes from our school partners. So they pay a portion of what it costs in order to partner with them. And then we do fundraise from private donors, a portion, and then we are an AmeriCorps organization. I just figured I'd throw it out there because typically it's a question I get asked. And I would be the worst executive director in the world if I did not let you know that it is Giving Tuesday. And if you don't choose to donate to Playworks, I would highly encourage you to think about who your favorite nonprofit is and make a donation. As most small businesses are struggling right now, nonprofits are extremely struggling. If you can imagine businesses struggling, then they're not able to give in the same way that they may be used to. So those of us who can give right now to our favorite nonprofits, I would encourage you to do so. I'll be happy to take any questions. Stop sharing my screen. You can look at the chat.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Jack. So I have a client who does daycare, preschool type stuff. Would that be a good referral for you? Would that be good? A good connection?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We just recently launched some services for pre-K organizations and actually have a hefty contract with the state Department of Health to provide services to those centers as well.
Nice.
Joe, do you still do the corporate recesses?
Oh,
okay. And
yeah.
then where does that fall in your model for the revenue? Do you classify that with partner income or fundraising or what?
It's classified as fundraising because that's typically how a corporation wants to look at it. So we do. Part of the way we bring in revenue is through things called corporate recess. So most of our private philanthropy, or at least a little bit more than half, is from businesses and corporations. And usually those partners want to have some sort of activation. And so those activations range from us, a corporate recess, which is actually where we go to them and lead their employees in days of play or a couple hours of play in order to provide them with the same type of skill building and team building that we would with kids. We believe that play brings out the best in every kid and adult. Or we'll do like physical service days for them and invite them out to one of our playgrounds. We'll repaint a playground with them. We also just started doing virtual corporate recesses, which I just participated in my first one. I was a little leery about it, but it was really fun. So I'm less leery about it now. And hopefully when we're all back together, we at one point got the green light to put a Foursquare out on the blacktop. I have a dream of having like a Nexus kickball day. So at some point in time when we're all back together, we would love to host that.
I think that's a great idea. I'll shoot video of it. I don't know if I'll participate in it. It's probably best for everyone. You've got a couple more minutes if people have more questions. I do want to say your graphs as far as showing the impact was incredibly helpful. I was sitting here jotting down the questions I wanted to ask you as you were answering them for me. Specifically how you pivoted so quickly when all of this went down. I mean, your entire organization and mission has to do with school kids gathering in large numbers. And the fact that you were able to very quickly, it seems, provide these resources and in a variety of different ways. You didn't mention much, but these Facebook Lives, you're encouraging people to kind of tune in on Facebook Live, and what do those look like? And I assume you're still doing those.
Yeah, we're still doing them. And in fact, I think we've kind of decided it's probably something we should continue to do. Given that we, even if school does start in the fall, there's potential for intermittent closure. So how we did it, I don't know. There's people like Audrey across the state who are far smarter than I am, who put their heads together and figured out how to leverage what we do know, our intellectual property, and put it out there. And there were enough of us at the time to do that quickly. Unfortunately, shortly after that happened, we actually had to furlough almost 90% of our national staff. Thanks to the PPP, we were able to bring everybody back, but if you're familiar with PPP, that only holds us until the middle of June. So future is unknown because it also depends on what schools will need and what organizations will need. All we know is we want kids moving, and we want kids playing in a way that develops their social emotional skills. And we know that the need for that will be far more critical than ever before, and the need for producing joy in their lives versus this stress. And then the Facebook recesses, so there's 3 a day. The first one is a warm-up. They're all pretty short. They're 15 minutes-ish long. First one's a warm-up, second one's a game, and the third one's a cool down. And they're done by Playworks staff members, coaches, directors, EDs across the country. We record them and put them into a folder, and they get uploaded through this Facebook Premiere, it's called. I didn't even know it existed. Yep. You can record and produce later. So in fact, we had an intern that some of you might have met at Nexus. Her name was Shekinah. She was there for a short period of time. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she even recorded some in Spanish. So we have some bilingual recesses up. I think we're going to do bilingual Fridays is what I've heard. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I love to hear new ideas that especially nonprofits are putting forward, that you're all realizing this is a good idea that should continue whatever happens with COVID. So that's awesome. I'll definitely have to check those out.
Yeah, please do.
Technically, we're over time, but we've still got 5 minutes to 4 o'clock. So I don't want to stifle any conversation or any other questions that you all have. I did not. I threw the one website address down there in the comment section, but if you would be willing to an email address and a phone number, or the best way of getting a hold of you, maybe even your Facebook page as well. I think that would be really good. So